Welcome to the Jill on Money Show. It's Sunday, March 27th, and today we are airing the second part of our interview with Bobbi Rebell. She is a certified financial planner and a financial literacy advocate and journalist. She's also a friend of the pod, and she's written a new book called Launching Financial Grownups. Who doesn't want to do that? So here is the second part of our interview with Bobbi Rebell. Now, we also get a ton of people who write into us and come on the show and they talk about their children and investing. And you have an entire chapter of the book devoted to grown-up investing. Now, how can we help these young adults start to manage their own financial lives? You want to give them information, but you don't want to do it for them. So what does that look like when it comes to investing?
It looks like telling them that they have to be investing, but not telling them what they need to be investing in. It's giving them information, as you said, but also this is the key thing, not judging, because there's a lot of investments today that you and I are going to say, oh no. Oh, no, no, no. But what's important at this age, and they have time, time is on their side, is that with at least an appropriate portion of their investments, they do learn what their actual risk tolerance is. I think the most important lesson you can teach your child is to be sort of the EQ of investing, figure out what their real risk tolerance is, because it's probably lower than they think. And so they might see on Reddit, these stocks are being, blown up during we had Hertz during the pandemic, that kind of stuff. And everyone's talking about them. And, they have to understand, well, okay, you can do that, but understand your information source, understand the risk, and understand that that could go bye-bye. Or it could do really well. A lot of people did make money on it. And that's why I say, don't judge where they're investing. Talk to them about why they chose that investment, what information they based it on, and did they really understand the risk? And understand also, there's a great story by my friend Jen Barrett, who wrote actually the book Think Like a Breadwinner. And she talks about her teenager who, I hesitate to say it's investing, but he basically flips virtual stuff in the metaverse, and she's mortified. And yet he's making so much money. And so at the end of the day, it's trading. He understands the product, probably understands some of the risks to some degree. But again, he's very young. These aren't huge sums of money. And he's getting his feet wet and understanding it. And I think that is important, to give them that freedom to understand what risk is comfortable for them and understand principles of investing like dollar cost averaging and diversification and things like that, rather than judge the specific investments.
How do you feel about the parents who are also waiting in on career advice? I feel like this is a little bit thorny because, we have our experience of our careers and the workplace has shifted pretty dramatically. But, I think especially I'm often asked by nieces and nephews about negotiation, for example, and it's hard. So how do you manage the, being helpful? And, I think you called it like the pep talk in some respects, like, you want to be helpful, you want to be supportive, but you don't want to be the hammer, like, no, don't do it that way. So what are some tips around that?
It's a lot thorny, by the way, not just a little. It's so tricky. I think you want to work back. What we've done and what I think worked really well for our oldest, who's now 25. This is my stepdaughter, Ashley, who's featured in the book. With her, she entered college and she was going to be a teacher. And she loved teaching. She was always a counselor at camps and always so good with children. And she also wanted to live in New York City. And she also wanted to own her own apartment at a young age. She had to think hard about that. And we talked to her a lot about that. We talked to her a lot about literally, let's look at apartments. Let's work backwards. What do you need for a down payment? What's your ongoing cost going to be? So she saw those numbers for the life she wanted. Not us. She wanted that. And she made a decision to switch to the School of Informatics. And she now works, I'm going to bungle what she does a little bit, but basically she's a cybersecurity analyst for a major firm. And she makes a very good living for a 25-year-old. I'm so proud of her. And that really worked backwards from the lifestyle that she wanted to lead and not be dependent on us. And I will tell you, on the day that we closed on her apartment, we had to be there because of the co-op rules, but she saved that down payment. She saved the closing costs, which we were very nervous about the closing costs. That mortgage, we see it go through just because of the way it's set up. She pays it to the penny every month. I have no fear of her having any issues with it. Jill, she even had, when she was moving in, a spreadsheet of where she was going to buy different stuff to set up her apartment. All these little things. You need to buy a tissue box. You need a paper towel holder, all this stuff. She sourced that and priced it all out where she was going to buy different things. She was able to do that because she made the decision to have this career. Now, back to what you said about the parents watching the kid in the basement working these, 20-hour days or whatever.
Yeah.
She's doing that. Let's be honest. She works her tushy off. She's on vacation right now. And I think she took 3 hours off to go skiing. She was literally sitting at the ski lodge working on her vacation. And she works for a company that is like, oh yeah, we want to support families and, take time off and but the kid on her vacation, she's still relatively junior. She's 25. And she and her boyfriend were sitting there. He has a similar, works for the same company, similar type job. They're grinding, they are working so hard for that money. And I'm just really proud of her. But she, it was a tough choice. She chose a career that was, to a large degree for the money. She's really good at it too, by the way.
You dedicate this to your parents. So talk about how were you raised around these issues?
Money was something that when I was younger, they always created a feeling of security. I've only discovered in the writing of this book that there were ups and downs for sure. We lived in the suburbs. My mom always wanted to live in the city, but financially we lived in the suburbs. That's where we needed to be. And I was very struck by my mom's limited career options. She was a teacher, and teaching is a wonderful profession, but my mother was a teacher because that was really the only option. She was too short to be a stewardess. She always wanted to travel, but apparently there were height requirements at the time. And once we were in school, she went back and got a law degree, but she never got the same traction that she would have had she been in that generation, a man, and been able to do it at the younger ages at that time. And that was always something that struck me as, being aware of the opportunities that I have, being part of I'm a Gen Xer, so being part of Gen X, we'll say. And my father, he was a grinder. He worked really hard versus a lawyer and on Wall Street. And I saw him working so hard all the time, really having the stress of providing for a family, but also the benefits of success later in life as he moved into investment banking and was able to have much more financial freedom. That said, I think one of the challenges when you do grow up in a financially secure family is you don't always necessarily appreciate how much life will cost. And when I was looking at careers, I always wanted to be a journalist. And I had an internship at CNN in the summer before my senior year because, I backed into that the wrong way. He wanted me to work on Wall Street where he was, and I wanted to be a journalist. And so the compromise was that I got an internship at CNN Business News. So the idea for my father was, he said, okay, I'll support you. You can live at home. I ended up getting a free apartment in New York City, but that's a whole other story. But, I'll support you for the summer. You don't have to get a paid job, but you're going to do business news, because he wanted me to have that protection that I could go and work on Wall Street if I needed to. And in the end, the compromise was business news, which frankly pays a lot more than a lot of, local news or general news. And he felt I always had an exit to go work in finance because I was able to understand the markets. And even recently, and, Mark will laugh at this, I was not a CFP when my first book came out, but I did become a CFP. And even then, and I think I joke about this in the book, he still asked, so are you going to go work for Goldman Sachs now? Like, what's going on? Calling up Morgan Stanley? Like, are you finally getting a real job? Enough with this, like, writing books and authors and being a TV anchor, like, grow up already. So, it's a balance. Like, he's always said how proud he is of me, but I do think that he wished I've done fine. But I would have made more money probably had I been successful on Wall Street instead of successful in journalism. And so it's tough to watch your kids, but he has let me live my own life. And I do appreciate that. And I love him for that.
That's very sweet. All right, before we let you go, you've got a new website. So tell us about that. What's going on with grownupgear.com?
Oh my gosh, thank you for mentioning that. Yeah, grownupgear.com is my merch site. It's merch for adulting. It basically celebrates adulting. It's super fun stuff. T-shirts, sweatshirts that say things like, I can't believe I'm a grown-up either, because we all are in such disbelief. It has baby wear that's super cute, bibs, great gifts. It's basically stuff to give people during life milestones, like having a baby, getting engaged, bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, all the fun things in life that we look forward to, happy occasions. So thank you. So Grown Up Gear is a lot of fun, and I've been having a great time designing stuff. And the best-selling stuff, ironically, is the baby stuff, bibs and onesies.
Okay, it is Sunday, and that means that you have a little bit of time to be thinking about your money, your financial issues. Maybe you've not done your taxes yet. We'd love to hear from you. Just go to our website, jillonmoney.com, click the Contact Us button, and you can ask us any question that is remotely financial. When you're there, sign up for the free weekly newsletter. Check out all the great content that lives on our website. It's all there, right there, Jill on Money. Do something nice for someone else today. Don't forget our mantra, grit, growth, grace. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you tomorrow.